What's up, everybody? It's Cool Sports Guy here. We're into week 3 of the NFL. Starts tonight. Pretty exciting time for us here at Cool Sports Guy. I'm going to bring in our co-host, Jarrett. How's it going, sir?
Doing pretty good, pretty good.
Awesome. So, yeah, just the two of us tonight. Mr. Tom's out and about celebrating. So, without further ado, I guess we can get into all the great stuff that we got going on this week. We're going to be talking about survivor picks, breaking down tonight's game, see what we got, and also our regular picks, see how we're all doing on those. Good news for the week. How do you feel about that?
Sounds good.
Awesome. Let's see what we got going on here. Week 3 of the NFL. Pretty exciting one. It's the first topic on for the day. Survivor pool. It appears there can only be one survivor in this, and let's just run it down really quickly here. Last week, Tom had the Denver Broncos taking on my beloved Texans. Got a gold star for that one right there. As much as they tried to lose, the Broncos uh, ended up with a nice little win there. Russ was cooking. How did you feel about that game, by the way?
Um, I know the Broncos did end up winning that game, but I lost even more confidence in the Broncos than I already did. I know it's only 2 games into the season, but Nathaniel Hackett looks like one of the worst coaches in the league. Like his time management, his play calling has all been horrible. Russell Wilson, I mean, hasn't looked like himself at all this far. I don't know. I've lost a lot of confidence in the Broncos, and they have not impressed me whatsoever up to this point.
Yeah, it was pretty rough to see. And I remember you said that after week 1, the Hackett comment. And I was like, it's just week 1. And no, it appears that it's going to be a pattern. And if it's 2 weeks is a pattern, I'm worried for week 3. Who are they playing this next week? They're playing I forgot who they're playing for week 3.
I just put together the slideshow for the picks. I should know this, but
So they got pretty heavy comp coming out. So they weren't playing Kansas City, are they?
no, Kansas. I don't. It's not Kansas City. Give me 1 second. I don't know how I do not remember this, but it is Broncos 49ers. That's what it is.
49ers, that's right. Yes, and I was thinking with Garoppolo coming back a full week to practice, seemed like they did pretty well in that after he came into the game. So I don't know, maybe it's just jitters and coming in and being strong and Garoppolo magic happening all of a sudden. Or if it rolls into next week, the Broncos got a real big test, and hope it's kind of hard to say that with Russell Wilson at the helm. I just thought it would be a lot more offensive power, and right now he's just lacking. And I don't know if it's the coaching holding him back or just not clicking altogether. He didn't play any time in the. Did he play in the preseason? He did play in the preseason, didn't he?
I don't remember him playing in the preseason, but I don't know. The preseason every year is always kind of a blur because it's just so much happening at one time.
And you don't know who's playing, who's not. But it'll be interesting to see that matchup when it develops, and see how. Yeah, right now my coach of the year candidate. We'll get into that later, I'm sure. So let's move on to the next one. You had the defending Super Bowl losers, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell us about this matchup, man. This was, you know what? I'm shocked here, but I'll let you break it down a little bit for us.
Okay. See, I know that the Cowboys aren't a bad team, especially when they have Dak Prescott. But you take out the quarterback and you put in Cooper Rush. I feel like, from my point of view going into this, I was like, for the survivor pick, it should be like taking advantage of the injuries while they're there. And that's exactly where I went in the direction, was a team without a quarterback. That's what I did week 1 as well with the Jets against the Ravens. I picked Ravens because the Jets had Flacco instead of Zach Wilson. And that worked out for me fine. Week 2 comes around. It doesn't at all. The Bengals offensive line, even though in the offseason it looked improved, offseason winners don't usually translate to regular season winners, and the offensive line is still bad. I don't know if it's a play calling thing or a scheme or what the dealio is, but the Bengals offensive line looks atrocious. Burrow still kind of doesn't really look like himself. I will say the defense looks as solid as as you need. It was just the offense did not put up points.
Now, I heard on the radio today they were talking about it, and I don't know, something to think about. But second half Bengals looked a lot better than first half Bengals, and now that they have 6 quarters together, but Burrow didn't play in the preseason, so you start putting it all together. I don't know. I'm kind of gets me thinking right now, but I'm still on the page that they're just not clicking all around and everything. And I think the second half was because the Cowboys were kind of letting up a little bit of both. What do you think? The Bengals are doing better in the second half, or Cowboys just let up because they had such a big lead at that point?
I think it is a little bit of both. I'm not a big fan of Zach Taylor, which is the Bengals head coach. I said that throughout last year as well. Even when they made the Super Bowl run, I don't think he's like a terrible coach or anything like that. But he's very mediocre, and he does not get the best out of his players. And I feel like that has shown very much so far into the first 2 weeks of the season. If he can turn it around, I think they have the talent on the roster to be fine. But something's got to change, or else he's going to be on the hot seat, which is insane as he's coming off a Super Bowl appearance. But that team
Yeah,
has too much talent for how bad they've played through 2 weeks.
that would be an ultimate fall from grace right there. Yeah, for sure. If he a year, even two, removed from a Super Bowl run like that, but I mean, it's statistically speaking, Super Bowl runner-ups. I'm not going to call them losers, runner-ups. They typically don't do well next season, and Bengals are following suit right now. To my surprise, I would have picked them too. I would have picked them. I think on my picks, I did have them winning as well, just normal pick, not survivor pool, because I was one of the first people out in our group. But I digress. So it'll be, we'll see. The first half of their next game, that'll really determine a lot for me with the Bengals right now. I'm a big Burrow fan, so I think just watching him with a good offensive line would be a dream. But for what he has right now, he's been doing pretty well for himself. We'll see how the rest of the season develops. Indeed, but I thought right now we can go back a little bit in time. And a few weeks ago, we had an episode that we did right before the season started, award winner predictions. And I want to do a little update on our selections. So start off with the coaches, and we'll break down week by week to see how everybody's doing. And our coaches, since we already talked about one of them, we'll go with Tom's pick first because his pick, Doug Peterson with the Jacksonville Jaguars, they're sitting at 1-1 right now with a division win against the Colts at home. Did you catch any highlights of that game? Did you see them destroy the Colts?
I went back and watched a little bit of that game. Um, I'm not discrediting the Jaguars here at all, but the Colts, I feel like, just looked really bad. They also looked really bad week one against the Texans, who I feel like are debatably the worst team in the league. I'm not discrediting the Jaguars. I think that they've definitely caught me off guard with how well they've played this year.
Right.
I mean, the Commanders aren't a great team. I think they're very mediocre, middle of the pack. But the Jaguars, showed the resilience to come back in that game week one. They did end up losing. But then, they come back week two and shut out the division favorite Indianapolis Colts, which is pretty insane. I honestly, I don't know if Tom can see into the future, but if the Jaguars make the playoffs, I think that's basically a lock for Coach of the Year right there.
Yeah, that would be something else right there. And the way that I would have thought Matty Ice could turn things not completely 360 around, but at least heading the right direction right now. He's not looking so good. They have a good solid O line. I think the Colts, they're division favorites for a reason. They didn't have a terrible team last year. Got a workhorse and Jonathan Taylor. All around good pieces to the puzzle right there. I thought Matty Ice would do a little bit better, but they got destroyed. And week one. I'm blanking. Hughes for the Texans got to him a couple times. A lot of miscues. He did his part, but not. I mean, old Matty Ice would have already been 2-0 at this point, and just kind of strange to see. So I mean, I'm not taking away anything from the Jaguars, but 1-1 right now. Who did lose week one? They lost against
the Jaguars. Lost to the Commanders week one.
Commanders is right, yes. And then so that was a close game, wasn't it? Was it 26-22, I think it was?
It was at the beginning of the game, the Commanders kind of jumped out to a pretty big lead, and then in the second half, the Jaguars came back, and I think they made it a one-possession game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I mean, right now, they got a lot of momentum right now, and all their players are healthy. So I'm not gonna jump the gun and be but I do agree with you. If they end up winning division and go for it, that's definitely a lock right there. But then we move on to your pick of Coach of the Year. That's right, Mr. Kevin Connolly, Minnesota Vikings. They're off to 1-1 with a good division win against the Packers. I know they didn't look good last week, but how you feel overall about their
Yeah,
performance?
after week one, I was like, this seems like my pick could be very right. Like, they looked like the best offense in football week one. Their
Yeah.
defense, I know it's week one Green Bay, where Green Bay is always the worst team ever in week one for some reason. But they dominated Green Bay and they looked really impressive on like all sides of the field. And then week two they go into Philly to play the Eagles, and I know the Eagles are a very very good team, debatably the best team in the NFC. Uh, but they got whooped. There's not a nicer way to say it. They got whooped. They
No,
did not
yeah.
look like a good football team. Darius Slay completely shut down Justin Jefferson. Kirk Cousins looked like primetime Kirk Cousins in that game, and I'm still kind of. I think there's still some hope with my pick, but I definitely have lost quite a bit of confidence from that showing on Monday night.
Yeah. I mean, it was. I think the best way for them to do well is just turn off those bright lights, and as soon as you do that, Minnesota can really turn it up. As soon as they, they get into those big games, yeah, as everybody stops playing like they know they can. So I think next week they're playing the noon game, so maybe they can bounce back. And I forget who they're playing against too, but
I believe
should
it's
be.
Detroit is who they play.
Normally, I would say, yeah, it's a lock right there. But Detroit also by now
Detroit
kneecaps.
looks good this year. I'm not gonna
Yeah,
lie.
yeah, they're taking out their kneecaps, aren't they? So starting out strong already. They're 1-1 right now as well, right? Or
Yes.
yeah, 1-1. Yeah, but I don't want to move on to this next part. But we look at my pick and somebody that right now it doesn't seem like they can hack it, if you know what I'm saying. So the record 1-1 with a quote unquote win against the Texans. Tried as they might to lose that game, they could not do it. I don't know about Hackett right now. Time management is the biggest concern for me right there. I normally I don't like time management. I guess it is a big part of the game, but it's such a huge factor in how it played out this last week. Burning all three timeouts. But I think they still had what 3 minutes left on the clock before when they used their last timeout. Is that correct? You remember that,
I
Andy?
don't remember off the top of my head, but that
But,
sounds right.
but I mean, like first timeout burning because they didn't. They were debating a fourth and goal situation. Second one, they had to burn a timeout middle of the third or fourth quarter. They didn't have their punt returner out there. By the time they got to the third timeout, it was close to the end of the fourth quarter, burning their last timeout. Again, just bad clock management, they're playing against the Texans, so it didn't really affect them right there because one touchdown from Russell Wilson kind of sealed the game for them. But you got big teams coming up. You're in a tough division. I don't know about Hackett. What do you? I know how you feel, but you want to give us one last.
Yeah, I've kind of like when the hiring happened and I made like my list for like the best coaching hires. I honestly I don't remember off the top of my head, but I'm pretty sure I had Hackett like in the top half of that. Now it's looking like the opposite, and Hackett looks like the worst hiring this far. Not trying to completely throw shade on your pick, but it just hasn't looked
Oh,
good.
it is what it is. Yeah.
Even like just like when it comes to like calling plays, he doesn't get that out half the time in
Yeah.
enough time. Because I know there's been multiple times where Russell Wilson always looks at the sideline like he doesn't even know what the play is, and
Mhm.
it's a mess. It's not a pretty situation. Maybe he can turn it around and they'll be fine. But as of now, it's not looking pretty for Denver.
Oh yeah, and I'm not gonna go yeah. The play calling is a big thing too. I mean, I've noticed for me, I am just I'm a fan. Obviously, I don't know all the intricacies of the game as well, but from what I'm seeing, when you got third and long, you're throwing quick slants to the outside, not giving your receivers a lot of room to breathe. Uh, I've seen that on many occasions already in like week 1 and 2 for them. So I was like, just stuff like that, like those small things. Play calling is a huge issue. I think if they can get those two in check, yeah, get everybody on the same page. I don't know how. Maybe just let Russ take over. I don't know if he's in the position right now where he can just run the game and let him cook. I know that phrase runs wild in Seattle. Maybe you can run wild in Denver, but right now it's not looking too good for my selection. But we'll definitely be touching on all the other picks and see how our offensive rookie of the years, rookie offensive players, and so forth. I'll try to keep track, and hopefully, when we come back to our coaches, this can be a little bit better right now. 1-1 for the division right now for our all three picks. So not nobody's really breaking away right now. So we'll see when we come back to them. But right now we got a few headlines we're going to discuss, and starting off with, you know it, 6 touchdowns to Tagovailoa, game for the ages. Uh, I got a few slides here for you. You look at the stats from week 1 to week 2 and how just I don't even know the percentages. I didn't even break it down because it was just incredible. Um, that right there, that puts them into tied for first place. And I guess with points, because it scores so many points, they're number 1 in the AFC East right now. How do you feel about Tua and his game for the ages, sir?
Honestly, after week 1, I know based on the stats, it doesn't look like it was like a bad game or a good game. It was kind of mediocre. But he just didn't really look like a good quarterback week 1. He had some really ugly passes. Some of his decisions throughout the game weren't pretty. But when he came into week 2, I know he had like the 2 interceptions, but he like looked more comfortable in the pocket. He, spread out the ball a lot. Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, they are the only wide receiver duo in NFL history to both have 150 plus yards and 2 touchdowns in the same game. So he spread out the ball pretty well. He looks like the franchise quarterback, which I'm rocking the Tua jersey right now. I've been high on Tua since he was drafted. I was really high on him, and I know thus far into his career he hasn't looked like the part of a franchise quarterback. I do think that's going to turn around. He has so much talent around him, and I think he's talented himself. I think Mike McDaniels, you're watching him unlock the true potential of Tua, and I think Tua is going to make a case to be up in that elite quarterback talks at the end of the season.
I'm going to have to slightly disagree with you on that. I love this performance. I saw that game. I didn't see it live, obviously, because I was watching other games, but I did go back and watch it. Thought it was amazing, and I thought a few key things. When you say unlock the potential for Tua, I go the other way, like using your weapons. Because I mean, all those out routes, Tyreek Hill and Waddle out there, just gunning it, and like they're after 10 yards, they're already broke away from their defenders, right? I think that right there, and Tua did make some good throws, but I felt like he kind of underthrew some. And I know this is a game for the ages. However, I do believe this is one of those where you see the spike, right? It's 6 touchdowns. He has never done that before in his whole career. He's averaging for his career a little over a touchdown per game. So this is one. I don't think he can spike that high again. That's just one of the when you see a heartbeat, just go like that. However, it was an amazing performance, and the stats speak for themselves. I'll just name one more thing before I sign off on that topic. His decision making also is quicker, and I think some of that is attributed to fast receivers getting open quicker. I went to a website where you can see the time to release for the quarterbacks, and his time went from like 2.8 seconds in the first game to like 2.2 seconds, letting go of the ball that quick. So, we have those quick actions right there, and your receivers are getting open that quick. I think that was really good. I'm not saying that he's going to drop off. However, week 3, they do have a tough Buffalo Bills team right there, and see who was king of the division. How do you feel about that, sir?
The one thing to add, though, I feel like they did play Baltimore in week 2, which Baltimore I know isn't nearly as good of a defense as Buffalo is.
No,
but I feel like their secondary is very slept on. They have a very, very good secondary. You have Marlon Humphrey, you have Marcus Peters. Kyle Hamilton is a rookie, but I'm really, really high on him. They got Marcus Williams from New Orleans. They have a great secondary. I think that's the strong point of that defense. And, to put up those stats against a defense like that is pretty insane. I know there's always quarterbacks who are viewed as bad quarterbacks who go up and put random, just amazing games. Mitch Trubisky had a 6 touchdown game. The NFL record for most passing touchdowns in a season or in a game is held by Nick Foles with 7. So it doesn't always mean that much. But I feel like the difference here is it's not just based off the stats. If you watch the tape, yes, he does have some underthrow issues. That's always been the weakness of Tua's game is his arm strength. But I think that you can gloss over that a little bit when you look at the accuracy of and the ball placement of where he puts the ball at.
I mean, I'll give you that. Yes. I mean, obviously the numbers speak for themselves. Yeah, you can gloss over the arm strength. I just don't know. Yeah, you're right because Baltimore's defense, the at least the secondary, isn't some of the one of the great. I don't know exactly off the top of my head, but they aren't ranked really high. I think they're in the 20s for rank. As far as passing defense. So I think that might have attributed. But when you go up against a team like the Buffalo, I think that's going to really play out. Maybe they'll change their strategy. I hope he doesn't try to air it out again and try to go for 6 more touchdowns. I think that could backfire on him. However, for what they had in front of them, you play who you have in front of you, and I think they did their job against the Ravens. So I'm not taking anything away from
See,
Tua.
but
That was
like
amazing.
Baltimore's pass defense, the stats from last because the ranked in like the 20s is from last season, correct?
No, I think this season. I'm pretty
Is it
sure.
including this game though? Because it's only 2 weeks into it. Because I know they had a bad rating last season, but that's because like their top two corners were out for most of the season, and I'm pretty sure one of their safeties was as well. And if it's for this season, that includes this game where they allowed 500 yards and 6 touchdowns. But
I have to let's see here for as far as passing defenses. Let's see here yards. Um, yeah, man, the Ravens they're pretty low on the list. They're Ravens. So after this game, obviously they're 758 yards given up. They're like one of the lowest ones. So if you take off how many yards did Tua have? Like 300 yards.
two had was that 469.
400. So there you go. Half of those were in that game. So the other, I mean, 300 is still in the first game. You know what I mean?
I feel like
So
with the day and age, that's not that. I mean, it's not pretty, but it's not like
no,
amazing or anything. I don't know. I think the Ravens secondary is very slept on. I think too. I think that's a good defense, and then Tua put up great numbers against that defense.
yeah. I mean, like breaking it down a little bit more further. Touchdowns. They've given up 7 touchdowns, so 6 of them were to the Miami Dolphins.
So that was
So one
one
touchdown.
in last week, which also they allowed probably a lot of yards last week because they were winning most of the game, and so the other team passed a lot.
Yeah,
There's a lot
exactly.
of in depth that we could talk about for like an hour about this, so we don't have to rant about it for too long. But
I'm
I
okay
feel
with going on. I'm okay with breaking it down, sir. I'm just kidding. But yeah, you're right. There's a lot to break down, and it's fun to break it down, especially this early in the year. Like, because then you're like figuring out what's going to happen next. What's going on? Is Tua for real? Is Ravens secondary that bad? And like uh, maybe like a 4 game sample size. And I feel bad for all the work that Lamar put into that game to have it just come so close from taken away from him. But we'll see how it goes for next game. Then we have the Lions biting off kneecaps. Who did they play this week? I didn't see off the top of my head.
who do they play this week?
Who did that? Did they play last week? Who did they play
Last
week
week,
two?
they beat the Commanders.
Commanders. Yeah, I didn't catch that game, so can you tell us a little bit about it? There were
I will say the second half. Usually the Lions play bad first half, kind of bounce back in the second half.
uh
Quite the opposite this game, actually. They took a pretty big lead. I don't remember what the exact score was. I want to say it was like 21-0 at one point.
okay.
It was something like that, and they looked like it was like a pretty commanding lead. The Commanders kind of came back at the end. It still wasn't like a one possession game or a close game or anything like that. But the Lions, held the lead. They won the game by I want to say it was 2 possessions. It could have been 3. I do not know off the top of my head.
Okay.
Goff had a really good game. He had 4 touchdowns, no picks. Was pretty efficient with the ball. And then their run game with DeAndre Swift, Jamal Williams is always very solid.
Mhm.
I don't know if it's more so the Lions played really good or the Commanders were just bad, but I lean more so the Lions played a really good game, and I think the Lions. I don't know if they're as slept on, with them being like the Hard Knocks team, and they're kind of like the new America's team at the moment. Everyone wants to see them win for whatever reason, but the Lions played a really good game.
They are. I didn't know that. I'm supposed to be rooting for the Lions. I mean,
I'm a Bears fan, and I'm kind of low key rooting for the Lions. So
okay. Oh, I mean, I didn't know. Okay, yeah, sure. I'll go get my Lions gear and see what I can do. Uh, but I don't know. I mean, there are fun headlines. Fun. What's it called? They have a lot of bulletin board material. So biting off kneecaps, doing their own practices on their own. I've heard a lot of stories, so they're fun to like listen to. And I think they're sitting at 1-1 right now, so it's not too bad. At least they got their one win out of the way, and see where they go from here. I've seen the Lions a lot of times go 0-16 or 1-16 or 1-15. So hate to see that for any team, rather, But we do have one right here in our own division, in my own division, the Colts getting destroyed by the Jaguars. I think we already touched on that a little bit. How you feel about the Colts moving forward right now?
I think I could be wrong. I'm pretty sure all three of us had the Colts as the division winners for the AFC South. It does not look like the case right now. I don't know what their deal is. I know last season they started off like 0-6 or something like that, and then
Really?
bounced back, had a great second half. That's when Jonathan Taylor kind of popped off.
Hmm.
But I don't know. Like last season, they played a bunch of good teams at the beginning of the season. To my knowledge, I think it was for the most part like really good teams, and that's why they were losing. And like you could tell while watching the games, like oh, they're playing good teams. This is still like a good football team. And I know me and Tom had talked about it. I was like, the record does not show like how talented this team is. That doesn't seem like the case this year for me. Like watching them, I
Hmm.
just genuinely just look like a bad team.
Oh
I
yeah.
don't know. I haven't like watched a ton of their games, but like they just don't look solid to me, and with the amount I have seen.
I wonder if it's just. I mean, like I don't know. With Matt Ryan, just new team, trying to get settled in with his new teammates. I don't know. If I'm just grasping at straws, I would say that right there is it is his first time there. But I mean, he's got the same amount of time as everybody else, and to get in there and hit the ground running, so to speak. So I don't know of all that, but yeah, they're not looking pretty right now. So don't
I'm just
drop your
breaking stuff.
Fields.
Yeah, I'm just breaking stuff. Don't worry about it.
Don't do it. Not the Fields jersey. Let that live. But yeah, overall, right now, no, not division winners. It's not going to fall on you, is it?
I think it's good. I was just a little spooked for a second.
I have like some viral content, just have you falling over with the Fields. Be like bad omen right there, going up against the Texans next week. But then we get to face the Giants. Giants 2-0 right now, just dropping people left and right. Pretty crazy season for them right now. How you feel about them?
Okay, so they played the Titans week one. That the Titans, I didn't think were going to be very good this year. I didn't think they were going to be as bad as they have been this far. I did think they would beat the Giants, but the Titans look bad. Derrick Henry doesn't even really look like himself. He looked a little better week two. Uh, I cannot think of who the Giants played last week, but I feel like it wasn't a great team. I don't know why it's escaping my
Oh,
mind who they played,
what,
but
this last week? Oh, they played the Titans. Wait, they played the Titans week two, didn't they?
they played Titans week one.
Week
Yeah, it was
one,
Titans
and
week
then
one, and then
yeah,
week two. I'm gonna have to look it up.
no, I forgot
Uh,
too. I should know this stuff.
Panthers. That's what it was. They played the Panthers, who also don't look very good, which I think is less of a talent. The Panthers, I think, are a talented team. Matt Rule, I think, is the worst coach in the NFL. I think he's honestly worse than Nathaniel Hackett. But
Oh, okay, yeah.
so with the Titans being, I would still put the Titans maybe in the mediocre range. So that was a good win. I'm not taking anything away from the Giants. That is a good win. Week two against the Panthers, it was a really close game. I don't think the Panthers are very good because they're not a very good, well-coached team. But I will
Mhm.
say, I think the Giants, I don't know if I want to use the word underrated, but they have a lot of talent on that team. They
Mhm.
have great offensive pieces. Saquon Barkley, if he plays like he did week one, he kind of slowed down in week two. But if he continues at that pace, he can be, a like a top five running back again, which I would love to see. Everyone likes to watch Saquon play. The injuries have kind of ruined his career this far, but if he bounces back, it's better for everyone in the NFL. But the one big hole in that team is without a doubt, me and Tom have talked about this, is Daniel Jones. Neither of us like Daniel Jones. We think he's a bad quarterback and probably shouldn't be a starter on any team. I think that if they can get an actual viable quarterback option, that they can be a playoff contender without a doubt. And I think that it's crazy to say because they've kind of been such a bad team for a few years. But I
Yeah,
think with a quarterback, that is a good team. They have a lot of pieces for a quarterback to work with. Their defense has been pretty solid this year. And I think the Giants are very slept on, and I want to see them be a good team again because like the mid early to mid 2010s, they were a good team. They were the Super Bowl, and they kind of slowed down after the end of Manning's career. The Giants are a good team. They just need to get quarterback situation figured out.
I agree with everything you said there. The only thing I would add is with Daniel Jones, I do think that is their weakest link, and then this year obviously is the year he's playing for his life right now, pretty much. I think if he keeps going in the direction he's going right now, though, the performance he's putting up, I think he could make a big case for moving forward with them. It's going to depend on how. I mean, it's 2 games. Like we said, Titans. If I didn't know how bad they were week right now, and I would say that's an amazing win. And then you see them week 2, and you're like, okay, well, that wasn't that great of a win. Then you got the second win against the Panthers. Then you're like, okay, these are quality. There would be at least one quality win those first 2. However, it doesn't count for me right there, But 2-0 is still 2-0. They're doing what they're doing right now, and I think Daniel Jones could possibly move with them. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out for him because unlike other quarterbacks that are playing for their lives right now, Davis Mills on the Texans for one, he's not doing his job to move us along right there. However, Daniel Jones is helping the cog, at least not making the move backwards. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I will say about the Giants, I think that their record is going to be a lot better than what the team is. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
I'll explain a little bit better. Okay, so they play the Titans, who do not look very good this year. Then week
Right.
2, they play the Panthers. Again, we've talked about it. They don't look like a good team. Matt Rule is a bad coach. This week, they play the Dallas Cowboys, who I know the Cowboys just beat the Bengals, but it is the Cowboys without Dak. So I
Yeah.
feel like that's a very winnable game. The next week, it is in New York against the Chicago Bears, which I'm a Bears fan, but the Bears, I think, are just a very middle of the pack team. That's a winnable game. Then it kind of hits a rough spot where they play Green Bay and Baltimore, which are probably losses. Then they play the Jaguars, winnable game. Seahawks, winnable game. Texans, winnable game. Like, they have so many winnable games on this schedule. I wouldn't be surprised if they take advantage of this weak spot in the schedule. I wouldn't be surprised if they're a playoff team.
Yep. Seems fair. I mean, it's just a matter of playing the right team at the right time. And yeah, playing Cowboys right now with Dak not there, that middle part of the schedule is going to be crucial right there. And yeah, if you get all those games, you do your part in those. I don't see why they can't be competing at least in the mix for a playoff spot. I don't know about competing, but yeah, right now we're living in a world where the Giants are 2-0, so that hasn't happened in quite a while. Like you said, we live in a world where the Colts are 0-2. Oh wait, 0-1-1, and the Lions are making the push right now with 1-1. Wait, Lions 1-1, right? Yeah,
Lions are 1-1, yeah.
yeah. So that world right there seems like it's been pretty crazy. It's kind of year we're moving into right now. So I think the Giants have as good a shot as anybody to make at least get in the mix for that playoff spot in the NFC East. So, but yeah, do you have any closing thoughts on that? I didn't mean to close us off on that one.
No, you're good. I kind of got my points out there.
Sounds good. This week is a little low on Thursday night thinkers. I wanted to really touch on the defense. The what is it? We got Pittsburgh Steelers playing the Cleveland Browns. Would be an interesting matchup right there. We're going to focus on 2 men right now on the defensive side. We got Myles Garrett, defensive end for the Browns, and Cameron Hayward. He's defensive tackle, like inside tackle, right? So little age differences. However, they're beasts in their own rights. So my question is a simple one right here. Right now, game 1, what happens first? Game 1, Myles Garrett's already at well, who gets the 10 sacks first, right? Myles Garrett currently averaging 11.7 sacks per season. He's had a pretty good start of his career. He already has 3 sacks this season. He didn't get any sacks this week 2, but the first week was 3 sacks right there. And Cameron Hayward currently averaging 6.1 sacks per season, and he's got a little bit more games than Myles Garrett, but he stands right now at 1 sack. And I think that was in game 1 as well. That was a game we Steelers lost TJ Watt. I forget who they were playing in week
It
one.
was Cincinnati.
Cincinnati, right. With TJ Watt in the line, I don't think they had any sacks week 2. So, I mean, I don't know, that might affect Cameron Hayward's ability, not himself, but, the overall defense. So I can run down a few games for you. Games 5. Here's a 5 for Myles Garrett and the 5 for Cameron Hayward. So if you need a moment, I can talk a little bit about these two teams, and then you can do math if you want. Or do you have an answer for us?
I kind of already have an answer. This is kind of similar to the was it the week 1 Thursday thinkers we did, where it was the sacks race between Aaron Donald and Von Miller, where
Yes,
it
sir.
was an edge rusher versus a defensive tackle. The difference is Cam Hayward is a great player. Do not get me wrong, but he is not an Aaron Donald. I think Cam Hayward's probably maybe better at stopping the run, but when it comes to getting to the quarterback, he's not Aaron Donald. I don't think any other defensive tackles in the league you can judge like rushing the passer with an edge rusher other than Aaron Donald. So I'm going to go with Myles Garrett on this one. I don't want to say it's an easy pick, but I feel like that's an easy pick. Myles Garrett is one of the best defensive ends, pass rushers in football. And Cam Hayward, I feel like doesn't get. He's still a great player. I'm not discrediting Cam Hayward, but he is nowhere near as good at getting to the passer as Myles Garrett is.
Perfectly fair right there. I think also with the first team that you see right here, Steelers are playing Browns, and then you got Jets. You got Falco for the Jets, but then you got Josh Allen. Then you got Tom Brady, who has a pretty decent O line. I'm not gonna say, but he's not mobile. But then you got Tua right after that. However, Myles Garrett got Steelers, Falcons, Mariota should be. I mean, he's mobile, but he's lost a little bit. I think that would be a good one right there. And then Chargers with, unfortunately, Justin Herbert. Is that your fantasy football quarterback as well?
It is, yes.
Sorry to hear that, sir, but he's a little bruised up right now. I don't think he can move around too much. We'll see in week 3 he can pick it back up. And then Mac Jones and Lamar Jackson at the very end. So I think as far as this race right here, Myles Garrett's already got a little bit of a head start. He's got 3 sacks, so he really would only need 7. I think he could probably get those in those first, 3 weeks, I would think. Best case scenario, he gets them in the first 3 weeks. But I'll go agree with you and do Myles Garrett as well. And our weekly picks recap comes down to a few games, starting with myself. My week was pretty good. I was pretty impressed with myself. I improved to 9-6. And that brings my season total to 17, 14, and 1. Thank you, Texans, for that one draw right there. And then we move on to Tom's picks. He also had 8-8, right behind me there. Brings his total to 16, 15, and 1. And then your picks. 8-8. Brings your total to also 16, 15, and 1. So it's not too bad. How do you feel about those numbers?
I know it's, Tom's birthday and all, so happy birthday to him, by the way. But
Yes,
this is probably the worst present ever, is the fact that he has the same record as me. Me and Tom kind of go back and forth because, last year he kind of wiped the floor with me when it came to picks throughout the season. And so I kind of find it funny that we're neck and neck right now. But I don't know. I feel like I've done so bad this year that I'm surprised I'm even close. I don't know. This season has been so just weird to start that it's been insane. I know that's not the best explanation, but it's been insane, and predicting these games has been very difficult so far.
Well, look at me. I'm in first place. Who would have thought those crazy numbers when I picked the Texans to win against the Broncos? I thought but it's early season right now. At least you got a winning percentage, so I would take that as a W right there. We can't put it on these numbers, but take a win, take a win, sir. It's going to be all right. We're going to go into tonight's game with the Steelers and Browns. We've already discussed a little bit about that as well. Steelers versus Browns history. Who do you think has the edge wins in this the history of this? I don't know. I wouldn't call it rivalry.
Is it total wins altogether or between them two, going against each other?
Going against each other, yes.
Okay, so I know the Browns were very good, pre-Super Bowl era and when they had Jim Brown and stuff, but the Steelers in the Super Bowl era have been so much better. I don't know, but I'm going to lean Steelers have more wins here.
All right, we've got a drum roll here, and you're right, sir. 77 and
Okay.
60 and one draw between the two clubs right here. So it'll be interesting to see how everything plays out. That brings us into tonight's game. Oh wait, actually, I have the record for how their division is playing out right now. Steelers sitting at 1-1, at top of the division, with the Browns at 1-1 in third place. I guess they're all tied right there. This is really weird to see the Bengals at 0-2 or at the bottom right there. Yeah, it's kind of weird. I don't know, but Steelers sit on top. I don't know how they guess more points scored right than the Ravens.
It's I believe it's division wins first.
The
They're the only one with
Steelers.
a division win so far because they beat Bengals week 1.
That's right. Yeah, you're right. Okay. So that would do it right there. Not too bad. It's a weird division right now, but this really will kind of settle everything out. See who sits at the very top. Brings us to our final part. I'm going to run down Tom's pick first. Tonight's pick for the night, being all redundant over here, is the Steelers for Tom right there. And then for you, sir, you have anything you want to say before you announce your pick?
Um, I don't. My pick might. It's probably gonna sound very dumb. I don't know. I think that the Browns are the better team, but I'm picking the Steelers to win. I don't even really have a reasoning for you. It's more so a gut feeling. I also really dislike the Browns as an organization. I could delve more into that. The whole Watson thing, I don't know. I just don't like
Oh,
how
yeah.
the Browns handle business. I don't like it. So it might be a little bit of a biased pick. I'm not gonna lie, but I am going with the Steelers in this one. Maybe Mitch will show the like weird flash potential games he had while he was with Chicago and get a win here against Cleveland.
I would love it, except that I did pick the Browns, but I also agree with you on all the things you said about the Browns. I don't know. As far as these two teams right now, I do think the Browns are the better team, which doesn't complete our jackpot. I know want to always be the odd man out, but for different reasons. This one, I don't know. For all the wrong reasons, I say yes. I think they can win this game. That would put them at 2-1 right there, starting off, kind of like helping me do my playoff bracket, helping me put them in that. I did have at the what 3 seed,
It was
so
something like that, yeah.
something like that. But I mean, like they were in the playoffs, and this is what I was thinking about the first 4 weeks, stuff like this, where they could, they lost against the Jets, but they could easily be 2-0 right now. They lost on last minute. What is that onside kick, and the Jets came back and won that last close game right there. So the Browns, they're holding strong right now. That's much to my dismay, but it's gonna be interesting right there. Before I go to the updates for our players, Thursday night thinkers for the last 2 weeks, just want to touch on all the socials that we're at right now. If everybody can give a follow, uh, Twitter, the Cool Sports Guy or Cool Sports Guy, and then Instagram, the Cool Sports Guy, as well as Facebook, and then YouTube, still a Cool Sports Guy. Pretty straightforward socials right there. And then, but as far as Matthew Stafford, though, I mean, and Josh Allen, they're pretty neck and neck on yards right now. I think Josh Allen kind of took the lead a little bit on for the second game with the blowout against what was it, Titans, right? No,
Yeah, it was against the Titans. The
no, okay.
Bills demolished them. They had backups playing in the third quarter.
It was, yeah. As far as that, and then I know Devin Singletary and Cam Akers are kind of like around the same yards right now. Cam Akers finally got some yards in week 2, so that was pretty good. He's looking at trying to get to 628, so we'll go from there. But besides that, a lot of updates right there. I didn't last week's thinkers. Patrick Mahomes scored 3 touchdowns, and then Justin Herbert got 2 touchdowns. So he's still pretty well in the lead right now as far as those. But we'll touch on those a little bit next week. But any closing thoughts for you, sir, as we go on to this game tonight?
I do not believe so now.
No. All right, sounds pretty good. Then I guess we're gonna go and click on and then try to get onto this Thursday night matchup. See how the I don't know. We've been talking about this game for so long, and for a moment there, I blanked. Yes, Pittsburgh Steelers hitting the Browns. Let's see how they play out right here. We'll be back tomorrow. Jared's going to come in and do a solo weekly picks recap. It's going to be great. And show us everything that's going on in the league. I think he's going to do a great job. We're going to see how everybody does. And besides that, make sure you tune in, and then we'll see you guys next time on Cool Sports Guy. Let me see if I can do my little closer.